terrified father calls his son in the middle of the night. He says his daughter has gone insane and she has a gun. Minutes later, an entire family is dead. But investigators would soon begin asking one horrifying question. What if that phone call never happened at all? Tonight, we take a look at one of Britain's most chilling and controversial murder cases, the White House Farm murders. White House Farm sat quietly in the Essex countryside near the village of Tolleshunt, Darcy, England. To outsiders, the Bamber family looked respectable and successful. Neville Bamber was a wealthy farmer, a former RAF pilot and a local magistrate. His wife June was deeply religious and strict. Together they owned hundreds of acres of farmland, property and a successful caravan business. But behind the peaceful image of White House Farm, the family was fractured. The Bambers had adopted 2 children, Sheila and Jeremy, and by 1985, tensions inside the family were reaching dangerous levels. Sheila Caffell had struggled with severe mental illness for years. Diagnosed with schizophrenia, she suffered paranoid delusions, psychotic episodes, and terrifying thoughts involving religion, violence, and the devil. Her 6-year-old twin sons, Daniel and Nicholas, were staying at White House Farm during the first week of August 1985. It would be the last week of their lives. On August the 6th, Jeremy Bamber visited the White House Farm for dinner. According to Jeremy, the evening was normal, but later testimony suggested there may have been tension surrounding Sheila's mental state and discussions about placing her children into foster care. Around 9:30 p.m, Jeremy left the farmhouse and returned to his cottage several miles away. Hours later, everything changed. At approximately 3:30 in the morning, Jeremy called the police. He claimed his father had phoned him moments earlier in a panic. According to Jeremy, Neville Bamber said, "Your sister's gone berserk, she's got the gun." Then the line supposedly went dead. Police rushed towards White House Farm, but something strange immediately stood out. Jeremy didn't call the emergency services, he called a local police station directly. And when officers arrived at the farmhouse, they waited outside for hours. Inside, they believed Sheila Caffell was armed and dangerous. They shouted through loudspeakers. No response. Only the sound of a barking dog echoed from inside the dark farmhouse. Finally, shortly before 8 a.m, armed police forced their way inside. What they discovered was horrifying. 5 bodies lay inside. Neville Bamber had been shot multiple times after what appeared to be a violent struggle. June Bamber lay dead upstairs. Daniel and Nicholas had been executed in their beds, and Sheila Caffell was found with a rifle beside her body. At first glance, the scene appeared obvious. Police believe Sheila had suffered a psychotic break, murdered her family, and then killed herself. The media quickly accepted the story. Headlines described a mentally ill woman snapping in a religious frenzy. Case closed. Or so it seemed, because within weeks the entire investigation would turn upside down. Jeremy Bamber was the only surviving immediate member of the family, and with the rest of the Bambers dead, he stood to inherit a fortune. Hundreds of acres of farmland, property, businesses, and money. Then Jeremy's behaviour started raising eyebrows. Family members claimed he appeared strangely calm. Soon after the funerals, he travelled overseas. He began selling family possessions, and according to witnesses, he talked casually about expensive cars and money. But the real turning point came from someone much closer to him, his girlfriend, Julie Mugford. At first, Mugford supported Jeremy completely, but after their relationship deteriorated, she went to the police with explosive allegations. She claimed Jeremy had talked for months about killing his family. According to her, he described elaborate plans involving guns, staged break-ins, and framing Sheila because of her schizophrenia. Then came the most chilling allegation of all. Julie claimed Jeremy confessed. As investigators re-examined the farmhouse, a critical piece of evidence emerged: a silencer. Police had somehow missed it during the initial search. It was later found in a gun cupboard by Jeremy's relatives, and forensic experts believed it changed everything. Blood found inside the silencer appeared to be consistent with Sheila's blood. But investigators argued something even more important. With the silencer attached to the rifle, the weapon became too long for Sheila to shoot herself. If that was true, then Sheila could not have been the killer, which meant someone staged the scene. And according to prosecutors, only one person had both motive and opportunity: Jeremy Bamber. Prosecutors painted Jeremy as a manipulative psychopath driven by greed. They argued he returned to White House Farm during the night after leaving earlier that evening. According to the prosecution, Jeremy entered the farmhouse secretly. He used a family rifle to murder his parents, Sheila and the children. A violent struggle erupted between Jeremy and Neville in the kitchen. After killing the family, Jeremy staged the scene to look like a murder-suicide committed by Sheila. Then came the phone call. Prosecutors argued Neville never called Jeremy. Instead, Jeremy invented the story. Because without that call, there was one terrifying question. How did Jeremy know something terrible had happened inside White House Farm before the police arrived? To prosecutors, the answer was simple: because he was the killer. But Jeremy denied everything, and for decades he has continued claiming he is innocent. The defence argued Sheila's severe schizophrenia made the murder-suicide scenario entirely possible. Psychiatrists confirmed that she suffered delusions involving evil, violence and fears she could harm her children. Jeremy's legal team also attacked the investigation itself, and honestly, the investigation was deeply flawed. The police contaminated the crime scene. Evidence was mishandled, blood-stained items were destroyed, the rifle was moved before fingerprint testing, and bodies were cremated quickly. Key forensic evidence disappeared. Even today, critics argue the investigation was catastrophically incompetent. Over the years, Jeremy's supporters claimed evidence may have been planted or reconstructed after the murders. Some believe the silencer evidence was unreliable. Others question whether the crime scene was altered. And then there's the phone call. To this day, debate continues over whether Neville Bamber truly called his son before the murders, because if he did, Jeremy's entire conviction becomes much harder to explain. Despite the controversy, prosecutors convinced the jury. In October 1986, Jeremy Bamber was convicted of 5 counts of murder. He received life imprisonment. Later, the British government ruled he should receive a whole life order and will never be released. Yet the case refused to die. For decades, Jeremy launched appeal after appeal. Journalists, investigators, and even politicians questioned the aspects of the evidence. Books and documentaries reignited public fascination. Some believe Jeremy Bamber is one of Britain's most cold-blooded killers. Others believe he may be the victim of a devastating miscarriage of justice. But after all these years, no court has overturned the conviction. 5 people entered White House Farm that night. Only one survived. And nearly 40 years later, Britain is still arguing about what really happened inside that farmhouse. Was Jeremy Bamber a calculating killer who executed his own family for money? Or did investigators lock onto the wrong suspect after a disastrously flawed investigation? Let us know what you think in the comments below.